There's a basement in Iowa City, Iowa, that houses a shrine of sorts, a museum filled with artifacts that attest to one of the greatest careers in the history of wrestling. To many here in Iowa, the man who lives upstairs is something of a folk hero, the living embodiment of the work ethic for which their state is renowned.
I mean, I'm an Iowa kid, and I probably wasn't going to be a great football star in the NFL. Probably wasn't going to be an NBA basketball player, but wrestling was my sport, and it took me to the world level. It gave me a lifetime of a lot of good things going on.
I grew up on a 12 by 12. This is actually a 13 by 13. I didn't have the padded walls like this.
Dan Gable was a 3-time state champion in high school, a 2-time national champion at Iowa State, and won a gold medal at the 1972 Munich Games, where no opponent scored a single point against him.
Tonight, Dan Gable has won the gold medal, maybe the most dedicated athlete I've ever known.
In 1976, Gable took over as head coach at the University of Iowa.
And I was the head coach here.
The Hawkeyes in his 21 seasons, they won the Big Ten championships 21 straight years. They won 15 NCAA titles. They did things that seemed unfathomable in college wrestling.
All told, Gable's tenure produced 45 national champions.
He's brought unprecedented and unimaginable success by setting records that were thought never to be able to be attained, and he did the unattainable. He's the epitome of commitment and work ethic, plain and simple.
Gable's legacy remains a central tenet of Iowa's wrestling philosophy, a fact clear to anyone up early enough to catch a wrestling practice at Carver Hawkeye Arena, where 2 of Gable's proteges, twin brothers Tom and Terry Brands, guide a new generation.
The traditions of Iowa wrestling are, work ethic, toughness, tenacity. There's a lot of demand for doing things the right way, and when you come into this wrestling room that you are ready to practice at an extremely high level every single day, and if they're not ready to do that, they hear about it. Then you got to keep that from happening. You got to press him the opposite direction that he wants to go.
Here, the Brands brothers also oversee the Hawkeye Wrestling Club, where the very best of Iowa's collegiate wrestlers go on to prepare for the next level. The club provides coaching and financial support for some of USA Wrestling's most promising Olympic hopefuls.
This has been a great place for the toughest guys that come out of this program to continue to train, and it allows us to keep our best homegrown college athletes here to continue to work for their goals. And that's important to the Olympic movement because you have high-level coaches training the best in the world. I mean, that's free training for them.
They gotta be for real here. Hit and drive. Hit and drive and put him down.
For accomplished wrestlers like Tony Ramos and Brent Metcalf, both national champions at Iowa, staying here to train for the Rio Olympics was an easy decision.
Wrestling in Iowa is like wrestling in nowhere else. The fans don't have professional sports. If they want to support a team, they're coming out for wrestling.
You bump into people who know who you are, or maybe they say, hey, you got cauliflower ears, tell me your story.
Your Iowa Hawkeye.
In the national stage, I think wrestling probably isn't a big-time sport like football or basketball, but here in the state of Iowa, you're a rock star.
More than 40 Iowa wrestlers have competed in the Olympics. 12 of them have won gold medals. For young talents like Ramos and Metcalf, the prospect of carving their own names into that lineage of greatness justifies the long hours and aching bodies.
Growing up, University of Iowa, they were powerhouses. Then they signed Tom Brands and brought Terry in also, and I knew if I wanted to win World Olympic titles and get to that level in wrestling, that's just where I had to be.
I was raised on that Iowa style, that Brand style, that Gable style. And little did I know I would be able to wrestle for these guys that I really looked up to my entire life.
If I can, I want to try to get the leg where I'm in here. I think the foundation is that you have a coaching staff that was coached by a coaching staff that was coached by a coaching staff over the last 4 generations of coaches in this program that are about the pinnacle of the sport, which is the Olympic gold medal.
Okay, boys, you just did a little bit of running to warm up. You got your ankles loose. Let's just pummel a little bit.
My grandkids and the neighbor boys, we've had 6 or 7 sessions this fall. I wanted them to kind of feel a little bit about a tradition of toughness.
I push in here, he's pushing back into me, and all of a sudden, boom, right there. Now I take his head right there, and boom, right there, just right there, just like that.
Wrestling just seems to fit in Iowa. The virtues the sport rewards are values shared by a community, passed down through generations, shared by families, and celebrated by fans who appreciate a sport where there are no excuses, and there's never anyone else to blame. In wrestling, as is often the case in Iowa, you reap what you sow.
It's a hard-working sport. It resembles what our state's all about. It's that work ethic that brings about a lot of disciplines in somebody's life. And if you don't have that work ethic, you usually don't excel.
Raise your hand, guy. Champion.
Just like the kids that I'm wrestling with out in the yard today, that's the future. And when things are going on like that, you're gonna have a good future.